Why does Marcus Rashford keep disappearing from international duty? And can Gareth Southgate get the best out of him? There's no doubt that Erik Ten Hag has been responsible for coaxing the best form of Marcus Rashford's career. But why can't England, and therefore Gareth Southgate, get him into the team and not capitalise on that? United fans think that he's not given a fair crack of the whip on international duty. There's no doubt about that. I know there are frustrations at England that he never seems to be available. The facts are these: Rashford has scored 30 goals in 49 appearances this season for club and country. For context, Harry Kane's got 27 in 47 over that period. And surely, if he was fit, he would be the first name on the team sheet, right? Well, not always, because there has been a recent history of him not featuring for England, even when he's been playing well. The examples given are the fact that under Gareth Southgate in the World Cup, he came off the bench against Iran and scored, got 12 minutes then against the USA, despite England not playing very well in that match. He then started against Wales, scored twice, and then was benched for the next game against Senegal and only got 25 minutes. And against France, he only got 5. But there is a little bit of history as well from the other side, because I think the England setup privately have been unhappy about his commitment to the team, or what is perceived to be lack of it. He pulled out of 5 of the last 6 non-tournament squads. He missed the World Cup qualifiers in 2021 to focus on his own personal fitness. In March 2019, he pulled out with an ankle injury, and then on both those 2 occasions went on to play in the next games for Manchester United. Now, I know that Gareth Southgate went to his house in the summer to try and resolve the issue and get to the root of the problem. Told him he wanted him to get back into the squad, and then didn't pick him in September when he and United actually started the season quite poorly. He's now in New York. Southgate says that's not a problem. He can do what you want with his time, but England weren't aware that he was going there. But surely this guy is a generational talent. He's currently the hottest striker in Europe, whatever the problem is. I don't think either are fully to blame, one side or the other, but there definitely appears to be a problem. You've got to resolve it, because he's absolutely vital to this squad's chance of winning the European Championships. Let's speak to Jay Motty, who's a Stretford Paddock presenter, a podcaster and a big Manchester United fan. What do you make of the issue?
Well, I know you're not going to be surprised there. I'm sort of siding with Marcus Rashford. I think it's a bit unfair, this sort of treatment that he's been getting, because let's not forget, Marcus Rashford, for the Euros, postponed an operation that a lot of people at United wanted him to have, including a lot of United fans, so he could play in the Euros. Barely featured, and then came on with, 2 minutes to go to take that penalty against Italy in the final. Got a load of abuse for missing that penalty, and then was dropped from the England squad. He's also been, always had these sort of injury problems he's been battling with, not just for his country, but for his club. But he's a player that will play for injury, and a lot of time he's done that. It's been to the detriment of himself and his career. And then you go on, you mentioned earlier about the World Cup. He gets himself back into form. He gets into the England side. He's scoring goals. He scores the 2 goals against Wales and gets player of the match. And then he's dropped for the Senegal game when he's got that momentum. That kills that. And then he's given, 5 minutes against France? You saw Raheem Sterling, who'd not even trained that week, I think, he's had to fly back to London. It made no sense. And I just think we've seen from Gareth Southgate this massive mismanagement with Rashford that, you're either letting him play or telling him to come to the tournament when he's not fully fit and giving him hardly any minutes. Then when he does show momentum, when he is banging in the goals and he is playing well, you drop him. I mean, I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about him starting against Wales in the World Cup, but that was a team that was much changed because England were already heading through to the next stage of the tournament. He scored 2 goals in that, was dropped the next match for Foden. Whether that was fair or not, maybe he's suffering because there is a queue of players that want to play on that left-hand side. You've got Grealish, Foden, Sterling, Maddison now. The manager is struggling to decide who is his preferred one. And there was a period where Marcus, wasn't coming into squads because he was fatigued. And also, he went through a rather lean patch, didn't he? Because between the 1st of January 2021 and the 27th of October 2022, he got 18 goals in 83 appearances for club and country, and he's scored 25 in 36 since. So I understand why now everybody thinks he should be in the team, but up until that point, there wasn't much evidence to back up the fact that he should have been in the team during that previous 18-month period.
No, I get that argument, but let's not forget as well, he needed an operation before the Euros and postponed it. He postponed his operation. I think that affected him. I think that had a detrimental effect on him, but he did that so he could play for England in that tournament, which is fine, that's up to him. But then you have this other narrative building that he doesn't care about his country. those two are, sort of contradict each other. You've got a player there who, because he wanted to play for his country, postponed an operation that he needed, and that hurt his club career. And then on the other hand, people are going, well, he doesn't care about his country. Well, if he didn't care about his country, he would have had the operation and sat the Euros out, but he didn't. So I think it's a bit unfair. I understand your point, because there was a spell where Marcus Rashford wasn't anywhere near the levels we're seeing now. But I think part of the reason for that was because he was keen and determined to represent England. And I think now as well, going back to your point as well about the Wales game, yes, I understand it was changed. But if you've got a player there who is banging in goals and playing well, and you've got another player who hasn't trained that week, who's had to fly back because I think his house got burgled or someone tried to rob his house, and you pick the player who's not trained and give him more minutes.
Yeah, that was the game after, wasn't it? Because the Senegal game,
for the France game.
Sterling wasn't involved.
Yeah, for the France game, sorry. You give him Marcus Rashford 5 minutes and Sterling, whatever it was, 20 or whatever, or 50. It made no sense to me, that. It just seemed like an odd thing to do and an odd way to treat someone who's obviously playing really well in that tournament and could have, for me, helped us beat France.
Well, one of the things I think we all agree on is the fact that Marcus Rashford is in terrific form, and right at this moment in time, you'd want him in the England team all day, every day. But is he actually sort of probably, maybe unfairly, being sort of left down the pecking order because he hasn't been in recent squads, and Gareth Southgate is very loyal and therefore turning to those trusted lieutenants that he usually turns to? Or is this just a matter of miscommunication? Because whatever the situation is, someone's got to get hold of it. I mean, I know Gareth went to his house to try and resolve it in July and August, or one of those 2 months in the summer, to try and get it ironed out and sort out all the problems. But could it just be miscommunication, or what do you think it's down to?
Maybe there is. I mean, I think it's sort of been overblown, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, he came off against Fulham with a knock, so it's not shocking that he's not 100% for the England team. And also, I'm not being funny. You can go to New York for a break when you've played 49 games this season already, and we're in March. I mean, the kid's played more minutes than almost anyone else in Europe's top 5 leagues. I think there's only about 6 or 7 players that have played more than him. He's played almost as many games as humanly possible so far. So you can understand, right? He's come off against Fulham. He's got a knock. He's been banging him and he's been playing so many games. He might need a rest. And I feel like the way this has been handled, it's like it's become a story that didn't need to be a story. It could have been like, you know what? He came off against Fulham. He's injured. He can do what he wants with his downtime. End of. Now, I think, to be fair to Southgate, he has come out and said that now. But earlier we were having all these reports that he wasn't happy. And I think it's just unnecessary. I think it's a distraction.
Jay, do you know what? I don't disagree with a lot of what you've said, but I think the fact that Gary's a very intelligent guy, he knows what he's doing, and the fact that he even tried to sort of poke the bear in that sense and making a couple of sentences about that says that, for me, there is a problem. There is an issue there. Well,
Southgate's very careful with his language, because he has been since he misspoke when talking about Chris Smalling, and he regretted that. He's regretted that since. So I imagine that if he did want to get a point, he was being rather deliberate in the way that he said it.
Absolutely. And where he may be frustrated, and Jay, you might turn around and say, well, he's okay then, is the very next game in the Premier League is Newcastle away. I would imagine you can bet your bottom dollar that he's going to be fit and raring to go in that one. And it is, you say about having a rest. Well, you don't have a rest for England. It's as simple as that. It should be the pinnacle. I understand exactly where Manchester United are, and fair play to Erik Ten Hag for getting him back to where he is, one of the best players in the world on current form right now. But then you take it to the next level. I think his last 10 starts or 10 games have been in both the Euros and the World Cup as well.
This is a guy that does play through the pain barrier. And Jay, you'll know this. You'll remember this. I remember doing the game against Manchester City where I thought just before half-time he couldn't even walk, let alone play football. And Erik Ten Hag just went, no, mate, you've got to crack on. You've got to get on with it.
But Gareth's clearly not thinking the same thing, though, Sam. So why? Why is he doing that for Manchester United and he's not doing that for England? And you would think that Gareth, as sort of emotionally intelligent as he is, would be able to get inside the head of most people.
And he has tried.
That's the point. I think maybe he's tried, and for some reason he's not quite getting there. But there's no doubt about it. England are a better side with Marcus Rashford in. So this is the modern day player. If he wants to go to New York, if it's been okay that he's not going to be joining up with England, and he wants to post on social media, that's what the modern day player does, and Gareth has to deal with that. But there's no doubt about it. There's an underlying issue here.
Jay?
Yeah, listen, I understand all that, and I think you're right about Gareth Southgate. He seems to do the PR side of things pretty well, if I'm being honest with Gareth Southgate. I'm not his biggest fan, but I think when he talks to the press, he tends to get it right. But I feel like this could have been handled better. I think it could have been handled behind closed doors and publicly. There doesn't need to be this sort
He's
of...
done it for a reason, Jay. He's done it for a reason.
That's what I mean. I think it's avoidable. I think he didn't need to do that, because the thing with Marcus Rashford as well is he's always struck me as someone who wants to play for his country. He's always struck me as someone who just wants to play football. I remember being at a Liverpool game a few years ago. He's hobbling around the pitch, literally, because we'd made all our subs, and he's not giving up.
Yeah, but I don't think you can compare, with respect, Jay, you can't
like,
compare what he does in a United shirt and an England shirt. I think
Did
what Gareth
you not
is
say,
feeling...
Scott, though, about the fact that he postponed an operation? Is that not a bit
absolutely.
indication that this kid wants to play for England?
Well, absolutely, but I'm coming from Gareth Southgate's point of view here by thinking, why has he come out and just, as I say,
dropped it into a conversation?
Why has he done this? You say about Chris Smalling, so he knows even more so he's on his toes about what he's going to say. So he's wanting it out there. He's wanting to get a point. Why is that? And Jay, whatever you say about United,
is it because he wants Marcus Rashford to play for England? He wants him in the team. I think we all want him in the team.
Yeah, of course we do.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. Look, you went through the numbers before. He's on fire. He's banging in goals. He's always a threat. His game's just improved massively under Erik ten Hag. He's fantastic as a United fan to see. So I sympathise with Gareth Southgate, looking at him and going, I want this player playing for me. I'm struggling to buy into this idea that Marcus just don't fancy it. Or so Marcus Jay, just wants to go on holiday with his missus rather than play for England.
Can I ask you a question then? The next set of internationals are in June, so middle of June. Season's gone. He could go on holiday again. If there's another injury that's kind of like not a major injury, would you sort of say, well, maybe something there is going on there? Would you say, no, let's judge each injury as it is?
I've always been like this with players. Pogba used to get all this, and we've seen it with other players as well. Like, is he really injured? Is he just making it up? I know Paul Pogba and Marcus Rashford are completely different players, but I sort of tend to give players a benefit of the doubt. And if they say they can't play and they're not fit, I trust him. So if he did that, I'd say, okay, he must have some knock. But I'd be surprised if that happened, especially post-season. I think, for me, Marcus Rashford, and listen, he's not daft. He looks at his numbers and he goes, if I keep playing, I keep scoring goals, I can break all sorts of records there. If I play for Gareth Southgate's England in the form I'm in, I can make myself undroppable for that team. And I think that's got to be in his head as well. So I'd be surprised if he said, nah, I don't fancy this. I fancy a trip to New York.
He's also got a big contract somewhere coming up, hasn't he? Whether it be United or somewhere else.
He's got his contract runs out at the end of next season. They've triggered the extension, haven't they? Right the way through.